got your supplements and functional foods, legal developments, ingredient news, education, inspiration, entertainment, insider in the afternoon.
Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Insider in the Afternoon. If it's Wednesday afternoon, it's Insider in the Afternoon, brought to you by the good folks here at naturalproductsinsider.com. I'm Todd Runstead here, senior editor for naturalproductsinsider.com, and thanks for showing up. We are live. We are without a net. There is no 7-second delay here. We are just so fresh, you could slap us. Hey, don't do that. Okay, sorry. Anyway, it's really interesting about life these days. We're getting out. We're seeing our way past the pandemonium, right? I have something to report. Oh, I went to movies. I got popcorn. It was so fantastic. I went to the cashiers and I'm wearing my little Vax on a lanyard. And it was like the shoulder drop moment, it was like I just gave someone some Delta 8 and they were just like, oh, thanks. That's nice. Like, you're here. And then like they leaned in and it just reminded me of like the in-person event thing. We are working on Supply Side West right now. It's going to happen in Vegas. And so go to supplysidewest.com and you can find out all about it. There are some notable things. We're putting together great education, and there's not going to be carpets. There's not going to be lanyards and badges, partially for sustainability and partially just to, keep our hands off of stuff and try to do that. So, but I know you all have your badges, your lanyards. And so find an old badge, because I have a feeling that the most common name, and this crosses genders for the entire show, is going to be, hey. So when that happens, it's not that I don't know you and love you and remember you and we've hung out, but it's been a while. We're all out of practice. My short-term memory facilities aren't all that they could be. So, hey, that's nice, right? The pandemic has kind of reminded me of a Vegas casino. Like, you go into the Vegas casino and like you take 2 steps and then all of a sudden there's no exit sign. There's no clocks. There's no windows. You're just like, you're in, and you don't know how long you're in for, and you don't know how you're going to get out, or like when you're going to get out, or what's going to happen if you're going to lose all your money, anything like that, right? Totally like COVID in the last freaking year, right? Good God. So anyway, bring your lanyard, come to the show. It's going to be fantastic. As we did a lot of this preparation to get the show on the road, we have done surveys with the Natural Products Insider audience to find out, okay, what are you really missing about in-person events, and how can we try to do our level best to replicate that online? And this show is part of it. And so if anyone has any idea, the number one thing that people would like to do at a show, discovery. That's right. They want to discover the next hot new ingredient. They want to discover new science on old ingredients, and they want to discover the coin of the realm is the branded ingredient. That is the thing that can really just separate your finished product from everyone else. You can dominate the category. I love branded ingredients, and you can find them at the show. We do our best to write about these things on naturalproductsinsider.com, and we have a lot of virtual events where we talk about these things. We have all the things to try to make you better in your business, because we are here for information, education, inspiration, and a little entertainment. That's right. Who wants to play Jenga? Okay, maybe later. The other thing that we found in our surveys that people really liked was networking. Oh, that's right. Seeing people gripping and grinning and going to the booths and having a drink and going out to dinner and getting lost in the casinos between 6 p.m. and 6 a.m. Right? That happens. That's all to the good. And, and so the other thing that I noticed that was really notable was that the largest plurality of the audience of visitors to come to naturalproductsinsider.com is the 25 to 34-year-old demographic. And so that to me says, oh, okay, so not everyone is as long in the tooth as me. There's some people who could use some sort of nutrition 101, if you will. And so to that end, we have this new segment that we're about to start right now. It's called Viva la Vitamins. And we're going to start with Andrea Wong, PhD. She is the Senior Vice President of Scientific and Regulatory Affairs for the Council for Responsible Nutrition, the science behind supplements. Oh, I have lots of over here. And so Andrea, she is going to tell us something that we don't already know about B12. We're going to talk about B12. And the thing that I most like about it, she's not going to get into this because we talk about different things. You want to talk about a $3 word. How about a 7-syllable word? Cyanocobalamin. That's so great. That's another word for vitamin B12. And if you really want to be better about your formulation, the 6-syllable word, a little more efficient, methylcobalamin. That's a little better form. And so here we go. Andrea Wong, take it away. Tell us something we don't already know about vitamin B12.
Thank you, Todd. I'm so excited to be here. And like Todd said, I'll be talking to you briefly today about vitamin B12. George Minot, George Whipple, and William Murphy's Nobel Prize winning work showing that eating liver could cure pernicious anemia led to the discovery of vitamin B12, which was later found to be the critical compound in the treatment. This discovery meant that what had been a fatal disease killing thousands of people each year in the 1930s could be treated with monthly injections of the vitamin. Vitamin B12 is an essential water-soluble vitamin that is commonly found in a variety of foods, including, of course, liver, meat, dairy products, shellfish, and eggs. You can also find vitamin B12 in some fortified cereals and nutritional yeast. Cyanocobalamin is the most common form of vitamin B12 that's used in dietary supplements in the United States and must be metabolized to its active form. Other forms are available as well. Vitamin B12 is often used in combination with other B vitamins in B complex formulations and is found in almost all multivitamins. According to the 2020 CRN Consumer Survey on Dietary Supplements, 19% of supplement users report usage of vitamin B or B complex, with usage skewing more towards female users and older adults age 55 and over. The daily recommended dietary allowance, or RDAs, of vitamin B12 are 2.4 micrograms for adults 18 and older, and a little bit higher for women who are pregnant or lactating. These RDAs are based on the amount needed to prevent deficiency, but individuals could need more for other functions. Vitamin B12 is needed for the development and function of the central nervous system, for DNA synthesis, and for the production of red blood cells. It can also contribute to mood, energy, cognitive function, and heart health, among others. When an individual has a vitamin B12 deficiency, symptoms can include tiredness, weakness, constipation, loss of appetite, weight loss, and anemia. Other symptoms can include nerve problems such as numbness and tingling in the hands and feet, problems with balance, depression, confusion, dementia, and poor memory, and soreness of the mouth and tongue. The National Institutes of Health estimates that vitamin B12 deficiencies affect between 1.5% and 15% of the public, as some individuals have trouble absorbing vitamin B12 from blood. For instance, deficiency is especially common in older adults, primarily due to malabsorption. Other individuals at risk for vitamin B12 deficiency include vegetarians and vegans, and those with increased vitamin B12 requirements associated with pregnancy. Daily supplementation with vitamin B12 of 50 to 100 micrograms may help to correct deficiency, and lower doses can help to maintain normal levels over time. The 2020 to 2025 dietary guidelines for Americans recognize supplements can meet nutrient needs not obtainable from food intake alone and identify groups that may consider dietary supplements, including B12 supplementation. The recent guidelines recommend pregnant or lactating women who follow a vegetarian or vegan diet to talk to their healthcare provider about supplementation to ensure they get adequate amounts of B12 along with other nutrients. The guidelines also state that some older adults may require vitamin B12 supplements, noting concern with absorption of this vitamin from food. Vitamin B12 is generally considered safe, even when taken in large doses. Because of its low potential for toxicity, no tolerable upper intake level, or UL, for B12 has been established. B12 can have potential interactions with other nutrients. For example, when taken in large doses, folic acid can mask B12 deficiency. Potassium supplements have the potential to reduce absorption of B12 in some individuals, and some research suggests that C supplements may break down B12, reducing the amount of available B12 in the body. So it's a good idea to look at the different supplements you're taking and consider spacing them out during the day to avoid some of these interactions. Certain medications may lower vitamin B12 levels in the body as well, including chloramphenicol, an antibiotic that's used to treat different infections, gastric acid inhibitors such as proton pump inhibitors and histamine H2 receptor antagonists, and metformin, a drug that's used to treat diabetes. People taking these medications may need to supplement with B12 to ensure they have adequate levels. Individuals should aim to get most of their nutrients from food and beverages, but in some cases, they're not able to meet recommended nutrient levels from diet alone. Supplements can help fill these gaps to support optimal nutrition in individuals. Consumers should always talk to their healthcare practitioner about the supplements they are taking or thinking about taking in the future. Thank you for your time. Please feel free to reach out to me with any questions on vitamin B12 or other dietary supplements.
Andrea Wong, thank you for that. Just real insightful, intelligent, spot on stuff on B12. Very cool. Moving right along, we've got Adrienne Smith. She is a senior editor at our sister group, newhope.com, and she's going to reveal to us, we just released the winners of the Nexty Awards, and that is really cool. And so, Adrienne, why don't you take us down a trip down not too far away memory lane and show us what's new and happening, finished products we love.
Thanks, Todd. It's great to be here. You're a tough act to follow, I'm not going to lie. So yeah, like Todd said, we just wrapped up the Natural Products Expo West 2021 Nexty Awards. And if you're not familiar with those, they recognize excellence in the natural products industry. So we really look at those brands that inspire a healthy, sustainable future for people and planet. This time around, we had over 800 products that were nominated to the awards, 23 categories, and we do 2 rounds of judging, which can get pretty heated and pretty intense. And we look at the products and we evaluate them based on these criteria that we call the 3 I's. So that's innovation, inspiration, and integrity. And then we also look at a product's impact or its potential impact. And then, of course, we also think about its taste. Well, we taste its taste and then think about how it tasted. So all of these things basically mean that a brand's mission, whether it's social or environmental, its packaging, whether or not it's organic, its ingredients, its nutritional profile, all these things come into play during the judging. So we narrowed down this year 800 items to 77 finalists, and then chose 23 winners, which, as Todd said, we announced last week. So super fresh, hot off the press. So I just thought I would share a couple of my favorite winners with you today. There are many, many more, but these are just some of the ones that I personally really loved. So I'm going to kick things off with 12 Tides. 12 Tides, organic puffed kelp chips. And these went in the category of best new organic food. So I love these. They're a fantastic taste and texture. They use regeneratively farmed organic kelp. They're 1% for the planet. It's a B Corp. The package is compostable. And kelp, did I mention, is the first ingredient, which you don't often find. And they have this kind of nice crunch and crisp, just fantastic. I ate half the bag before I started today. And then next up in the RTD beverage category, we had this Reishi tea, sparkling botanicals. They have this fantastic line. I love this one because it's Schisandra berry, because I love saying Schisandra. I don't know if I say it right, but I love saying it. And these are great. They're really dry. So it's just botanical ingredients, sparkling, not sugar, some of them are caffeinated, but just really great flavor combinations. And the company has a really great sourcing story and really great practices. So very cool product. Next up, Consider Pastures. These, can you see these? Okay, these are pasture raised eggs. Now, this is a new line from Pete and Jerry's Organic Eggs, and they're pasture raised, they're certified humane. Their whole mission is about regenerative agriculture in egg farming and egg laying standards. They work with all these great land trust, land management systems. And it's also kind of the sexiest egg carton I've ever seen. So let me just show you how it works. And, you know, our judges were worried that it wouldn't be recyclable because of this very fancy gold lettering, but I talked to the company and it is. So it's all plant-based ink, and I will probably never, ever throw it away. Next up, we've got this awesome brand, Global Village Foods. It won in the category of Best New Special Diet Food. Oh, and the eggs were in the Best New Meat or Animal Product category. So Global Village Foods, it's a really cool brand. It's family owned. They're out of Vermont. They started in farmers markets. It's West African flavors. The mom is from Kenya and she's a chef, but her son had a lot of allergies, a lot of food allergies. So she started this line of all of these fantastic West African inspired dishes. Some have chicken, some are vegan, but they're all allergy friendly and they have super clean ingredients. It's actually really hard to believe they're frozen. And I just really love the story. So really great brand out of Vermont. And then finally, so I really only write about food and beverage. I'm not a supplements person, but our supplements guru, Todd, has told me that this has got fantastic ingredients. It's very cool. It's Winged is made by women, for women. It's a really great brand. This is kind of dealing with women's anxiety and depression. And so it's this relaxation mix. And it's kind of the brand's first foray out of CBD. So if you know Winged and these really cool designs, you'll know that most of its products have CBD. But this one has got magnesium, ashwagandha, lemon balm. I've been taking it. Tastes great. Todd, great product or what?
Yes, indeed. You got to love them.
Yeah. So these are just some of my favorites this year during the Nexty Awards. 5 of my favorites. That's 5 minutes. And thanks so much for having me.
Awesome, Adrian. I love that. That was really cool. And I also want to tell people, I mean, what was there, like, I don't know, 21 categories or something like that. And these are the winners, but there's also what I really like is you can also look on newhope.com and the finalists, because there's one winner and 2 other, you know, that are on the podium. And then because I know, like I was on some of the judging panels and it was like, it was down to the wire, like, well, who's the best? I don't know. Like, these are all really good. So if you're looking for like a real, more expansive view on, like, maybe what products to stock or just in one category, what ingredients are being used, things like that, go check out the all the finalists of the Nexties, because Expo West Virtual just happened last week, and you can read all about it on newhope.com. Adrian, thanks a lot. And now,
yeah, thank you.
Oh, hold on. Wait. All right, on to our new segment. We don't have 2 cameras here like a real live television cast, but next up we got the Toddcast, the meat of the broadcast right here, and we have a special guest, Ilan Sudberg. He's the CEO of Alchemist Labs. We're going to talk about radical transparency. Tell a quality story with your QA QC work. Ilan, how the heck are you?
Doing great, Todd. How are you?
Excellent. It's really good to talk to you. And, let's talk transparency, because I think this is a really interesting topic. It's sort of a highfalutin word, but it's really at the core of everything that you do as an analytical testing lab. It's kind of like trust, but verify, in the words of the immortal words of Ronald Reagan. Otherwise, who's to say that every supplement pill isn't just filled with sawdust, right? So you got to get that work done.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And we verify, then trust.
Oh, I love it. That's right. Yeah. I mean, definitely. If you don't do that, then your marriage falls apart after 5 years. Just saying. So I've heard this flappy stat that 1 out of every 5, or that brands spend 1 out of every $5 a brand spends 20 cents on the dollar is on QA QC work. Now, that's a sizable amount, but really, like, that's like back end work. Like, you don't see that manifest as a consumer facing pursuit, right?
Right. And it's usually tucked away in the drawer of a mid-level quality control professional. It's like having a marketing campaign that costs you 6 figures and you said, cool, looks good. And you tucked it away and never showed anyone. And the key is everyone's already done the work. So share it.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So you've put forth the value proposition that companies, they may as well pull back the curtain, right, on that back end work. Right. And let the consumers know about both the test results, as well as the significant investment that brands are making in vouchsafing ingredient quality. Has that caught on yet?
It's the next generation transparency. There's a ton of better sameness in this industry, and this is another way to differentiate your product. And it's easy to do if you're a good brand and you do the right testing with the right labs. There's no reason why not to put this up front. And it's my belief and a lot of beliefs of the other folks in the industry that the consumers want this data.
Right. Yeah. It seems like the new modern transparent consumer, you can find out about everything that behind a company. And if you don't like it, then you're going to go, you're going to go viral with this.
Right.
So it really helps for companies to get their act together, and then you might as well talk about it. Right.
Exactly. The work's done, the money's spent, share it, period. Why not?
Yeah. Yeah. And so this is really interesting. And I know that you dabble in this part, and let's talk hemp, right? Why not? Right. And anytime you're having a conversation in the last couple of years about supplements, the conversation invariably goes over to hemp. I kind of consider hemp as like the hemp CBD is like the supplement industry in dog years. If you think about the modern history of the supplements industry post Deshay from 1994, or over 25 years, hemp CBD, like they've done that in like 5 years.
Right.
And so the interesting thing about it is, in some ways, hemp and CBD, they have leapfrogged ahead of the supplements industry by having the QR codes, and you could just scan your phone on the QR code and it takes you right to the C of A, the certificate of analysis, and you can look at all of the analytical testing lab results. I mean, what do you think of that? That's pretty advanced on the behalf of the hemp
industry.
It's
fantastic. And I have to say, I sort of got the idea from the dispensaries for recreational that, they lead with their lab tests, they lead with their QR codes, they lead with the data behind the product. Again, they're trying to avoid better sameness, and it's one way to differentiate their brand from another. And no one in our industry has been doing it, with the exception of Gaia, who's been doing the Meet Your Herbs program for quite a while. And then I know Metagenics has a version of that now, and a few others are starting the process. But it's not regular, it's not normal, it's not baseline, and it's my belief that it could and it should be.
Yeah, absolutely. Like there was a pretty titanic quality kerfuffle in the industry, I don't know, like 5 or 7 years ago, when, who was it? It was somebody went out and they went to Walmart and Walgreens, and they used DNA testing, right? And they were like, oh, this doesn't have, what you have in it. And all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, like all these like massive mainstream brands, is this the story about dietary supplements? I mean, so you would think, it seemed like the one thing to do that some people got behind, and I know you did too, okay, go out and buy DNA testing equipment, right? And so did you do that at Alchemist, right?
Yeah, I call it my biggest failure in my career. It was something that we tried to launch at request of our clients, because the other labs doing it were less than desirable to work with. I'll just leave it at that. Literally our clients begged us to get it, so we got it. We brought it in. We tried to make it work several times. By the time we had a team willing to make it work, the industry had moved the needle away from it, because it's not suitable for our industry. We work with extracts mostly. You can't really do a good job on speciation with extracts. You can't tell plant part, you can't tell quality. It was Attorney Schneiderman's effort to try to make some noise with new tech, and it failed. There's no one, even the lab that was doing it, it doesn't exist anymore. So it went away just like the equipment a few months ago. So we got rid of that and have a new room for newer, cool stuff now.
But God, and that was probably like a pretty significant 6-figure investment, right?
Yeah, like I said, it was my biggest failure. And if I had a board of directors, they probably would have canned me over it. But
I mean,
maybe
I wouldn't have, because it's one of those things where it's like, this is the huge headline. There wasn't that follow-up huge headline to say, oh yeah, right, DNA, it doesn't tell you what part of the plant, it doesn't tell you dosage of the plant. There's a lot that it doesn't tell you.
I could trick it very easily, different species, a little bit of raw material, tons of extracts. You wouldn't be able to tell if you're just doing only DNA. It's like identifying green tea because you found caffeine, or identifying hemp because you found THC. Those single markers don't really indicate quality. They indicate presence of single marker. And the DNA indicates the presence of a plant, but doesn't tell you the quantity. You could have tons and tons of other stuff with that one plant. But it's definitely an interesting technology that showed up. I think it'll stick around in the food scene, but not so much in our extract centric botanical industry.
Okay, so, but that it's not like it surprised too many people in the industry. I mean, there was a lot of pushback, like, come on, that's not fair.
Right.
But the story is there is a concern about quality ingredients.
Yeah.
Right.
In this industry, and I've been here almost 25 years now, seems to learn really good lessons from black eyes. And so we learned a lesson from that attack. It was a wrongful attack using the wrong technology, but still brought a lot of attention to quality. And in, my guess is to the consumers, because it was a public event. So hence the consumers are watching closely. We started testing a lot more after that event, and I believe the consumers are watching more closely after they saw that disruptive event unfold.
Yeah, and so it seems to me that a lesson that the larger supplements industry could have taken that is like, okay, maybe we don't have to use DNA testing equipment, but there is a concern out there, egged on by the mainstream media, that there's a quality problem.
Right.
And so that gets into the conversation right here. It's like, okay, so if you do use the right testing lab, using the right fit for purpose testing methodologies,
right,
then it's like, yep, here we are, we're great. But then it's like, what do you do about that? And so I submit you follow the lead of the hemp industry and put a little QR code in there. And so you direct people to the C of A, and it's like, and then you could help tell that story, right?
Right. I'm not a web developer, but the good companies should have done the work. They should have the reports. As I said, I'm not a web developer, but I know it's pretty easy to upload reports onto a website. You can have a searchable database. The data is all there. And the hemp industry and the cannabis industry did it all day years ago. And I think it's kind of fun that we're following them, even though, like you said, they're, light years advanced us in dog years. So we're learning from, former felony charges people now that the regulations have changed, and now they're just, business people like us. So it's a great kind of paradigm, I think.
Yeah, right. And there are issues with quality about the hemp, raw material biomass. Like, it turns out it doesn't quite grow as easily as a weed. And like different growing conditions, you might have a hailstorm or like something happen and you lose a lot of it. So there are issues there. And that kind of thing happens with any raw material. It's sort of like the story of the natural products industry. Nature is inherently variable, right?
Yes.
So
yes.
You're not going to get this exact molecule, the single chemical constituent molecule of a pharmaceutical ingredient. That's
right.
just the way that the game is played. And it's fine.
And there's no other plant in our industry that has a point X, good or bad. St. John's wort could be good as defined by the perpetuator of the material or any other plant, but cannabis is a tricky one because it's got this very, very narrow acceptance criteria, which in our experience gives rise to lab shopping, races to the lab that gives the best results. And unfortunately, which is why we're not really focused too much on hemp, where it's one of 2,000 plants we test. We're here for when our industry needs to have it tested the right way. But in our experience, the last couple of years, diving in pretty deep in there, it's been a little bit of a mess. So it advanced to us dietary supplement wise, as far as like how fast it grew and matured, but it still has a lot of work to do, for sure.
Yeah, and so now let's take this conversation one step further. Is like, even in the hemp world, oh look, here's our certificate of analysis, and it's like, oh my God, it's just a bunch of like numbers and little like greater than or less than, and maybe it says good or not good.
Right.
Like, surely there's a better way. Like is there a way to take that information and present it in a more user-friendly way? So like not just for the chemistry nerds, but for the consumers, right? Like, isn't that what we really want? That's how we tell the story.
Exactly. So, which is why we produce, basically, I call it the nerd version, which is a C of A with all the graphs and all the data and all the mobile phases and all the stuff that no one really understands except for chemists or auditors. And then we have the consumer-centric version, which is basically, if Reader's Digest put out a C of A, it would look like this. It's infograph heavy. It says, this is what we did. It's how we did it. This is what our results were. Here's what they mean. And, the consumer can see that and make sense of it, make product choice, move on. And that's the whole goal.
I love that. Oh my God. Like, everybody should be doing that. I mean, that sounds like kind of revolutionary. It's one of those like, duh, like, why wasn't everyone doing that? Why wasn't everyone having C of A's? Why isn't everyone having QR codes? Why isn't everyone having a C of A presented in a user-friendly, manner with circles and arrows, not just like crazy numbers that no one understands.
Yep. Yeah, and answering that question has been my current life's work. So picking key clients to help them take that quality out of the closet. They have it. They paid for it. Share it. Take it out of the closet. It's been hidden with the audit docs that no one wants to look at it after the audit. So I think it's time to step up and bring quality out of the closet for this industry. And again, some select companies are doing that. There's a ton more that need to. Like you said from the beginning, 1/5 the spend on something, I would share that. Why wouldn't you?
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's not just something to file away, but you might as well tell the world. It's like, hey, we've got quality. And then that'll, God, if everyone does that, there's a couple innovations that have to happen in the supplement industry. One is the plastic problem. And so you should use 100% post-consumer plastic, so you don't have to cut down all of the virgin plastic trees, as it were, and then another is this like transparency, so that we don't have to wait for the next quality scandal to hit. If everyone starts doing this, like, look, if you're like a big solid company, you're testing it, tell that story. So then it's like, oh yeah, right, supplements, they're like good, they're tested, you can see it on the bottle.
Exactly. Consumer trust goes up, more purchases, more efficacy, win-win all the way around.
Right. And so I love this. Alon Sudberg, CEO of Alchemist Labs. You are the Davy in the Davy Goliath. There's been so much consolidation of the big boys. I mean, what are we calling it? The Euro Vansidex.
Yep.
That's the Goliath out there. And then there's an alchemist out there on the coast, like doing great work. You're doing innovative work. And like, wouldn't it be nice to like sort of open source it and be like, Euro Vansidex, you should be doing user-friendly C of A's too. And then if you're a brand out there, follow the hemp industry and put a QR code and tell the world that these supplements, as a baseline, they're safe, they are what they say they are. They fulfill that product promise, right?
Exactly.
And that's what analytical testing labs do. So Alon, thanks for joining us. Thanks everyone for joining us here on another edition of Insider in the Afternoon. Hope you had a good time. Hope you learned something or other. And we'll see you next Wednesday. This is Todd Runstead signing off.
Thank you.
Sustainable